it is extremely important that we recognize controlling coaches, alpha coaches struggle building player-led teams, right? Coaches that believe that are at the forefront, those coaches that really want to make it all about them, that are just kind of leading the ship, and they're the dominant personality and the dominant figure. And yes, there is authority within coaching, obviously, but when that is the personality, you're going to really struggle to build that player-led team. All right, coaches have to be secure in and of themselves and what they do to be able to step back and be able to give some of that power over to the players.
Welcome to the Cutting Edge Coaching Podcast, where we believe coaches are some of the most important teachers and leaders in the world, and they deserve to be supported. I'm your host, Luke Gromer, and every week we're bringing you conversations with coaches, experts, and leaders from across sports that will give you practical ideas and strategies that you can apply in your coaching to develop high-performing teams and high-character people. Coaches, I'm excited to welcome Adam Bradley to the podcast. Adam founded Lead 'em Up in 2015 and currently has over 3,000 teams of all levels from across the country utilizing their dynamic leadership curriculum to transform their people into the leaders needed to win. He hosts live Lead 'em Up leadership trainings, workshops, professional development sessions, and keynotes around the country to help teams build something special and win. Adam is passionate about pouring into people and helping them become the best versions of themselves. In part one of our conversation, we talk about the two things that can move your team from a coach-led team to a player-led team, how to develop a spirit of ownership, and fostering strong peer-to-peer relationships. Like always, if you enjoy this episode and want to grab a copy of the free podcast notes, just go to cuttingedgecoach.com/podcast or click the link in the show details to download a free PDF of notes from this episode or any episode. And don't forget to check out summercoachingseries.com to learn more about the event we're offering that will help you level up your coaching this summer. The SCS includes 10 weekly presentations plus 2 bonus sessions with coaches and experts from across sports that are going to help you grow by giving you practical ideas you can apply in your coaching. When you sign up for the SCS, you'll get access to the live presentations, the video replays, a private podcast feed with audio-only replays, detailed coaching notes, and more. The event kicks off June 1st. You can check out the incredible lineup of presenters and get all the other details at summercoachingseries.com. That's summercoachingseries.com. And one note about the conversation with Adam. We recorded this podcast in person at a coaching convention, so you may hear a little background noise at times, but we did our absolute best to make sure the audio sounds great for you. Now to part one of my conversation with Adam. Enjoy the episode. Coach is really excited to welcome Adam Bradley to the podcast today. Adam is the founder of Lead 'em Up. Adam, we're at the United Soccer Coaches Convention, and later today you are delivering a session on moving from a coach-led team to a player-led team. And I don't think it's any secret that most coaches would like that to happen, but I think it sounds a lot easier than maybe it actually is. So will you talk about how do we actually move to a player-led team?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. You ask any coach in the country, regardless of sport, would they aspire to have that? And they'll say yes. Unfortunately, look, their behaviors don't always line up to that, right? And match their desires. I always say this, the first thing, it is extremely important that we recognize controlling coaches, alpha coaches struggle building player-led teams, right? Coaches that believe that are at the forefront, those coaches that really want to make it all about them, that are just kind of leading the ship, and they're the dominant personality and the dominant figure. And yes, there is authority within coaching, obviously, but when that is the personality, you're going to really struggle to build that player-led team. All right, coaches have to be secure in and of themselves and what they do to be able to step back and be able to give some of that power over to the players. So the coach has to have the right mindset. And so when you begin to say, this is what I want, you've got to kind of check yourself first, right? In order to make sure you're not stealing the show, right? You're not owning every process. You're not managing every decision. So that's kind of where it starts. But then when we begin to transition it over to the players, it really comes down to two main things for them to adopt in order to gain the momentum for the player-led perspective. ownership and relationship. We need to be able to cast a spirit of ownership within the players that they are owning this team and they are owning this process. In addition to that, we need to build an environment where they have relationships strong enough where they trust one another and are willing to have each other's backs. Have each other's backs our way of reframing accountability. Okay, it's a softer, safer, more accepting way to position it for young people. Young people don't thrive on accountability because accountability in their mind is attached to confronting, right? You have to confront a teammate. Confronting is, in the family of words of confrontational, which most people run from confrontation. So we simply say we want to have each other's backs. So players need to have the spirit of ownership, and they need to develop a foundational relationship on the team. Those two dynamics, that's high level, right? How do you then stronger, incorporate a spirit of ownership? How do you strengthen those relationships? I don't know if we have time for all of that, but that's where we get into it. That's what we do and lead them up, right? We've got an exercise called the Green Team that is one of, if not the best that I have found. And not just me saying that, people have said that, right? Like, it is a powerful, impactful tool that develops a spirit of ownership. And it does that in a variety of different ways. One, it creates a shared language. Right now, everyone's speaking this shared language, which is so powerful. It gives them a vision, an end goal. It gives them an action item, right? We say remove red, sway gray, build green, right? In order to get there. There are green standards that puts everybody on the same page. It is very clear what we're doing, what's expected. There is no gray area. We all know. So it does a variety of different things. Plus, you can measure it. So the one thing within that exercise, it gives the players the ability to measure the growth. That's the one thing players oftentimes struggle with is, do we even know if we're building a player-led team? Like, do we even know if our culture is strengthening? Because on the soccer field, I can tell when we're getting better on the offensive side. In basketball, I can tell when our defensive efficiency. But do I know we're getting better as a player-led team? Very difficult to measure leadership growth. The Green Team's been able to kind of do that. But the premise, being able to give that shared language, them creating it, them setting their own defined green standards so everyone's on the same page, them being able to track the progress of it. These are the types of things that will give them a spirit of ownership to begin to kind of say, no, this is my team, right? We own this locker room. We own this direction.
That's really good. And I think there's a couple things worth highlighting there. One, the importance of, as the coach, we have to have a secure enough identity to step back and recognize this isn't about me, and I want them to own the experience. And that means I'm going to have to give up some control here. The other thing you talked about that I think is so important, and I don't think we spend enough time considering it, is developing a shared language. And if you look at any high-performing culture, organizations, sports, business teams, they have their own language. They've developed this language that makes total sense to everybody within the team. Yeah. But if an outsider comes in and listens to them talk, they're like, what are you talking about?
But that's the power, right? It's like the secret handshake, right?
Yeah.
You and I have a secret handshake. Only we know it. And all of a sudden now we love doing it. That much greater, right? Because it's our thing, right? So the shared language within the leadership dynamic does the same thing. Kind of says, this is us. No one else knows about this. This is our little tribe, our little secret, right? And the beauty is when you get into, the exercise, and once again, obviously I'm sharing a lead 'em up exercise because that's what I know best, of course. But the premise is consistent no matter the exercise. When you begin to allow sound bites that are quick in nature, but yet large in understanding, okay? Hey, you're being real red right now. That is a quick sound bite. But when they understand it, it means so much.
Yeah, because you've defined that this word means all these other things. And that's not only like...
And we defined it together.
Exactly. You let them speak into it. And that's not only in leadership, team culture, like that's in your coaching too, with your teaching and learning of, like, essentially you're using cue words. Green Team is a cue word for all this other language that we've agreed upon together. And you're so right. It's so powerful. It makes coaching and interventions so much easier when we have that language and we're clear and we're on the same page together about what these things mean. And the other thing, and I know it's something that you guys do because I'm looking at a green team sticker on your water bottle right now, is that there's so much power in connecting that language to what I like to call cultural artifacts. So like, for example, on the team that I'm currently coaching right now, a ninth grade basketball team, one of our identities is empty the tank. We use that phrase to talk about the kind of effort and enthusiasm that we want to practice and play with. And so after games, we award an empty gas tank. Right. And so there's so much power in this shared language. Like you said, when we say empty the tank, they know it means all these things. And then also to attach it to something that we can award, that we can use to reinforce and recognize this mindset, this value system, or this identity that we've co-created together.
Yeah, so that's going to provide that extra excitement, right? That extra incentive to accomplish that. And I love that empty gas tank. So, if you're taking notes here, right? So we need to develop that spirit of ownership, right? They need to create it. They need to see the vision, where we're trying to go with it. It's extremely important you give them a tool where they can measure it, right? How do we know, right? That's going to be built on the dynamic of them defining it through the green standards. The shared language helps bring it all together. And then, like you said, so on my water bottle right here, it's not just a green team sticker, it's actually a green verified check mark. It's because young people are very familiar with what it means to get verified. They recognize the blue check on social media, where we believe what's more important and better than the blue check is the green check, right? Because the blue check simply verifies identity, says this is who you are, right? Based on identity. This actually describes the type of person you are, okay? So there's more merit to it. It's worth more. So we actually verify our athletes green. So they define what it means to be green. They're working towards it. And then through the process, their teammates verify them. Now, all of a sudden, boom, I'm verified. I'm money. I'm green. Not everybody can get that. Only those who've been voted verified. So it's the buy-in, right? And it's also presenting it in a way that gets them excited, right? They know about getting verified. They're like,
it's a big deal if you get that sticker. It should be.
It's a big deal. We say it doesn't look like much, but it represents a lot. Okay. And then, we've got our MVG trophy, most valuable green. It's these handmade trophies. We support a local woman-owned business in Maryland, and all the teams that are utilizing the Lead 'em Up program, they get the premium program. They get the MVG trophy. So at the end of the year, right, who's your most valuable green, right? And then they also get nominated potentially, if their coach nominates them, for our National Green 13 Award, where we take 13 green leaders. And I'm not saying green as an amateur, right? I'm talking about green as in money. Leaders around the country, 13 of them, and they each get free Chick-fil-A for a year. They get a whole bunch of Lead 'em Up swag. It's just extra incentive to be green and to build green because we think it's that important.
That's so good. Yeah, it's so important that we're reinforcing that in some real tangible ways. I want to talk a little bit more about the other piece of what you talked about with player-led teams and the relationships. And again, I think every coach recognizes how critically important it is to have strong coach-to-player relationships and player-to-player relationships. But that's hard. It's much easier said than done. Will you talk about how, as coaches, we can really actually teach our athletes the skills they need to build relationships?
Yeah. This is one of my favorite topics because I love people, right? And I love connecting. I love building relationships. The reality is many don't possess the skill. They also don't possess the desire. So we've got to talk about the desire and the skill. And we archaically, as coaches, have not done a great job building relationships because we've latched onto old traditions of team building that I don't believe are extremely effective. So, we went, bowling, right? Team building event. We took the team bowling. I'm not opposed to going bowling as a team, Luke. Sure, go bowling. But put it into the appropriate category. Just call it what it is. It's a fun team event. It's something fun to kind of let loose. I don't know about necessarily team building, relationship building, because what I have found on a lot of those type of events is the same awkward, introverted individual that doesn't have great relationships goes to the bowling alley. Now they're in a bowling lane, awkward, introverted, not really connecting with others. So I think we need to begin developing the skill of connecting, developing the skill of relationship building. And that's where we spend most of our time. Because if you can build people with the mindset and the tools to connect greater, right, then they will connect greater, right? And so how do you do that? How do you do that? Great question. We've got an exercise called going for the gold, for example. We call connections with one another gold mines. We call them gold mines because they're valuable. And the reality is, if you invest the gold mine correctly, it will become even more valuable. We will say it enriches the relationship. So we teach our athletes how to mine for gold. Mining is going to build on curiosity. Think about a gold miner that's looking, right? They're searching for gold. That's the human aspect of curiosity. The gold is the connection. So it's a combination of curiosity and connection. We want to teach our athletes to be curious about each other, right? To go mining for gold, looking for those connections. So we want those curious athletes because curious athletes will help get there. And then we teach some strategy. We give them some practice first off. So we'll pair them with people they don't really know like that, right? And give them practice, and we'll do some competitions. Who can find the most gold mines in 3 minutes or less with their teammate that they don't know that well, right? Boom, 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 boom. As they go, every single time they find a gold mine, they have to double clap. So we hear double claps all throughout the room, which raises the energy level and communicates to everyone else. People are connecting. I need to start connecting. Okay. So it's just kind of a trigger there. So we teach them and give them reps on searching. We remind them not to get discouraged if they don't find a connection, right? Just like a gold miner, if you went down a path and there was no gold there, what would you do? You simply walk out of the path and go down a different one. You may not find a connection with a teammate right away. Don't worry, right? Because the gold miner says sometimes the largest abundance of gold are on the paths least traveled. Sometimes it's with people you may not thought you would have connected well with. It may have taken you 3rd or 4th tries to connect with them. Guess what? The largest of abundance of gold mine, could be in that relationship, in that path. Don't get discouraged. Just go down a different path. Keep searching. Gold miners also remind us that the greatest amounts of gold are never found above the surface. It's always below, right? That's why they have metal detectors to search below the surface. And the same goes for our relationships, right? The value and growth is going to come from things beneath the surface, not above it. We got to get to know them and connect with them. So we teach them how to gold mine. We give them gold mining questions, right? Gold mining questions are simply questions that are going to lead to a more specific answer. So rather than saying, how was your weekend? We teach our athletes not to say that on Monday because, Luke, I'll test you here. If I say on a Monday, hey, Luke, how was your weekend? What's the common response?
It was great.
And then you usually say the same.
How was yours?
Oh, it was good. It was good. Oh, that's good, right? And then off we go.
Yeah.
Every American, every human is engaged in that conversation 100 million times, okay? I believe that conversation is good if you're at the grocery store with the person checking out your groceries, right? Probably not much of a relationship happening there. But you know where it's not okay? On your team. With people that you're going to be battling alongside for 4 or 5, 6 months, that you're going to count on and trust. It's just not appropriate. It's too surface level. We don't allow that. We say on Mondays, you ask your teammate, what was the highlight of their weekend? All of a sudden, it's going to stop them in their tracks. They're going to have to think, wow, that's a good question. Oh, you know what? Oh, man, I had the best ribs ever. Oh, you had the best? Oh, you're a rib guy? Oh, man, I love ribs too. Dude, man, all of a sudden, before you know, we're in a 10-minute conversation about ribs, right? And then if we invest it, all of a sudden, maybe we say investment is the ongoing process to make it richer. Well, how would you take that connection of ribs richer?
Let's go eat ribs.
Let's go eat some ribs, right? Or maybe I'm at home and I see a commercial for some new ribs and I take a photo on my Instagram and I send it to you, right? Which may not seem like a big deal, but it is because you and I have never had a one-on-one conversation. We've just kind of been on a team. It's always been group setting. I've never messaged you directly. But because I found a gold mine called ribs and I wanted to invest in it, all of a sudden, that's a big deal, right? We teach the skill curiosity and connection. Let's find some gold because we want to be money, green. See the connections there? It all ties in.
That's so good. Yeah. Yeah, I love that, and love that exercise, going for gold. And again, giving them language around it, giving them some guardrails or boundaries to get them started. Like, we can't expect them to be good at this at first. It's a skill, like we're talking about, and it's got to be built, and it's going to be uncomfortable for them. It's probably going to be uncomfortable for you as a coach to facilitate this at first, before there's those light bulb moments or those breakthrough moments where they're really actually starting to find that gold.
And can I say one thing on that? Early on in Lead 'em Up, I would jump in when things were awkward. I'd save them. So maybe we do a relationship exercise, a connection exercise, and they're not connecting, right? I would jump in to save them. Or they were struggling through a communication exercise, to your point that it's a ramping process, right? You can't expect them to be great, but I'd always save them because I wanted to avoid the awkwardness of the moment. I do not save anymore. Eventually I'll save, but I give it time of awkwardness before I jump in. And I do that for a very specific reason, Luke, because I want our players to recognize this is a skill they don't have yet. Because I think sometimes, it's connection. I don't need any practice on this. Oh, really? Because when I had you go through an exercise the other day, you struggled, right? The communication exercise, you literally had no idea what to say it, how to deliver it. Okay, you struggled. Ironically, if I asked you to go, do a layup with your left hand off 2 feet, you could go do that in a heartbeat. You could go do it right now in a heartbeat. You'd volunteer. Oh yeah, I got it. But the moment I said I need you to engage in this conversation from a communication exercise with one of your players in this hypothetical situation, you came up here and you were a deer in headlights. Guess what? I'm not judging you. It's not bad, but it's reminding us we need the work.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's just critical as coaches that that's our view on it too. Like you said there, that we look at these things as skills because they are, and we help our athletes see that. And the other piece too is that as coaches, we need to model that they're skills that we're building, and be honest with them about that. Hey, this is an area where I'm trying to grow here too. Maybe it's one of the things that they're working on, or hey, this was where I was before I engaged in this. Like, being honest and transparent with them about the skills that we're trying to build, I think goes a long way in creating that safe environment where they feel like, oh, okay, this is a place where I can grow. This is a place where I can admit, be honest with myself and other people that I'm not where I want to be yet, or I don't have some of these skills. But if we're not willing to model that as the leader, I think it just makes it really hard for them to embrace it.
I agree. And I think sometimes that vulnerability will actually produce a return that's greater than anything you could have imagined, right? And it may be the moment where you unintentionally produce the greatest growth. So sometimes admitting you don't know, doesn't seem like a very intentional leadership strategy, right? Right? I'm going to admit, I'm going to lead my team up by admitting that I don't know. You don't really think about it like a leadership strategy, but its effect actually almost makes it look like and appear that it is a leadership strategy, because you'll get some extra buy-in, right? All of a sudden your players are going to begin to say, okay, we're in this together, right? Even coaches working through this. And I think that's valuable. So I encourage coaches to embrace that.
Yeah. And I just feel like it's worth sharing too, on that same vein of being vulnerable and honest. I'm also a classroom teacher. There was a day this last semester where I walked into one of my classes and I just said, guys, I'm having a crappy day. I'm having a really hard day. And the response from them is like, oh, we gotcha. Because I was honest, guys, I really need you guys to be locked in with me and do what we need to do the first time today, because I've had a brutal day.
And you're empowering them in that moment to lead you up.
Yeah.
Your vulnerability is empowering them and giving them permission and the green light to lead you up. And that's a powerful thing. It makes me think about I had this conversation with my wife from time to time. When people offer to help you as a family, or offer, hey, anything you need, right? Let me know. I may be unique, but I let them do it. Most people don't, right? They think it's just a cordial communication, like, oh, I know so-and-so's sick. If you need anything, I can bring over some food. I take them up on the offer, right? And my wife's like, you're not actually going to take them up on the offer. I'm like, I'm going to take them up on the offer. I'm like, because I want to empower them. And my wife may just think I'm just trying to get a free meal or whatever the case may be, right? But no. People want to be empowered to help others.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm thinking back when we had our baby, my little one, a couple years ago, right? People would offer, they'd be like, if you need anything, be like, man, that's great. I'd imagine when that time comes, we'll need a dinner or two. If you want to do that, that'd be amazing. But we'd absolutely welcome it.
So it's hilarious that you just shared that example, because literally last night I'm on the phone with my wife. We just had our second child 5 days ago. My wife's amazing. She still let me come here, but I'm having this conversation with her. She had a C-section, so the recovery, it's hard physically. And her parents had just been there. They left. My mom's actually with her now. And it's so hard for my wife to let people help and serve her. She's like, I feel so guilty. People are doing things for me. And I feel terrible if I take a nap on the couch. And I think, and what I was saying to her is like, hey, you're kind of robbing them of an opportunity to do something that is meaningful for them. And I said, if the script was flipped, you would want to do the same thing for your friend or our kids someday. You would want them to let you
when I say I want to help you, I want to help you.
Yeah, let people help you.
Give me that opportunity. I love, Luke, how you just phrased that about robbing people of the opportunity to help, or in this case, robbing people of the opportunity to lead you.
Yeah,
don't rob them. Let them.
Yeah,
say thank you. That's great, man. I really appreciate that.
Because it's so amazing what happens when we're willing to just be honest and say, I need help. Actually, yes.
When people say, hey, if you need anything, let me know. I'll say, oh, man, I appreciate that. What'd you have in mind? And it's not that I'm trying to get something out of them.
Yeah.
But I want to give them the opportunity, right? Because then all of a sudden our relationship will grow from it.
Yeah.
And they will feel empowered and encouraged for their good deed that they just delivered, right? So there's a lot of positives there. Yeah, give them the opportunity.
Coaches, thanks for listening to this episode. I'll be back next week with part 2 of this conversation with Adam, where we're going to discuss the secret part of leadership nobody talks about, but needs to. You're not going to want to miss it. As always, if you enjoyed this episode and want to grab a copy of the free podcast notes, go to cuttingedgecoach.com/podcast, or just click the link in the show details. I've got 3 takeaways from this conversation with Adam. First are the 2 things Adam talked about doing to move your team to a player-led team. Number 1, give them ownership. Number 2, help them build trusting relationships. And like he mentioned, we have to be willing to give up control if we really want to develop a player-led team. Number 2 are the 5 things Adam shared about how to develop that spirit of ownership. The first, they need to create it. The second, they need to see the vision. The third, we need to give them a tool where they can measure it to actually know if they're progressing. Number 4, develop a shared language. And number 5, we've got to reinforce it. And my third big takeaway is the going for gold exercise that Adam shared. What a powerful way to build connections among your team. Because I think we can all agree that we really want a connected team, but that doesn't happen by accident. We need to give our athletes the language and the tools they need to actually discover those connections with each other. And hey, don't forget to check out summercoachingseries.com to learn more or sign up for the 2022 Summer Coaching Series. I hope to see you this summer. Thanks for listening to the podcast.